our final demo is going to be with a complementary, and I chose the colors red and green. So you may or may not have seen this particular video that I shared out early in our school closures, but this is one of our class fish Fidel. And here we have this wonderful reddish and green complementary color scheme working. And it works great because it allows us to create a lot of contrast. So here I do have shades and tints, and I have pure hues, and I haven't really created a bunch of neutrals, but right in here would be a very high value neutral. It's where the red and green has sort of blended together, and you get sort of this browny kind of undertone. So this is a great way for you to see how a complementary color scheme can be applied. With working with our colored pencils, once again, we're gonna follow the thing, but I get to alternate back and forth between red and green. So here my pure hue was red for the red one. So here I'm going to make the pure hue in space 1 green. And I want to make certain that I don't get to the wood. So I might actually give it a quick sharpen before I begin. All right. So I've got a little bit more space to work with. So just like before, we're going for a clear and saturated application. And I just wanted to show you the difference between working with the colored pencils in a monochromatic and working with them in a complementary. So I won't go through all of them because it's the exact same process that we use for monochromatic, but I thought you might like to see an example. And when you press hard again, that's called burnishing. And the point of that is to get a 100% saturated application where you don't see any white speckles. All right, so pure hue, shape 1, done. Number 2 is a tint. So I did the first one in green. I'll do the second one in red. We did a tint in red before. Gotta sharpen this pencil. Sorry, you're seeing a bunch of my arm there. And we're gonna start with the application of white. Oh no, do you see how some of my green pulled over into there? It'll be okay. And should I have erased my number first? Yes, but it'll be all right. This is not an artwork that's gonna go in a gallery. It's so you can show me that you understand the concept. Again, pull your hand back on the pencil so that you can just barely tickle. I'm gonna go a little bit more red than we did on our previous one so that I can show that I know what I'm doing in a little bit different way as we go through our different applications and various different color schemes. So I'm gonna get this a little bit more red, and I'm gonna be careful. Like right here, it looks like I made a line. I'm gonna try to make sure that that line goes away. So it's a fairly even application of red across that space. Go back with the white, and I'm going to burnish. That is to blend all those pigments together, going for a smooth, even application, no white speckles. Haha, no pun there because I am using white to do that, but it's literally making the pink on the paper with a smooth, waxy coat, because wax is the main ingredient in color pencils, even really cool ones like Prismacolor. All right, so we got our pure hue, our tint, we got a shade. Want to go back and do that with green, so I'm going to do it kind of like I did before. Smooth, even application, layer of green. Again, this is the way you typically color in things for other classes, and that's why we don't ever talk about applying color as coloring something in, because that's not what we're doing. We're trying to create really fun applications that are very knowledgeable in art class, and so that's the biggest difference between what we do with colored pencils and what you do in, say, a science or a math or social studies or health class, when you're sort of trying to make a diagram look pretty. We're not necessarily trying to make a diagram look pretty. We're trying to diagram our complete knowledge and understanding of color theory, which is different. So it's a higher level of knowledge with a higher degree of skill and requires more concentration, and there is a right and a wrong to it. So make certain that you're doing it the way that's expected, and you will be okay. That's one of the things with some of our learning here during the remote learning phase since the pandemic occurred is you have to want to learn. You have to want to do it the right way. You have to want to do it with motivation and drive that comes from within you, because your teachers aren't there just trying to really guide you through. I mean, we're trying, but we're not right beside you, so we can't hold your hand. We can't, appeal to your sense of being a great student. There's a distance there, and that makes it very hard to overcome. So it's got to come from within you. It can't come from me. It can't come from outside external motivation. It's got to come from inside you. So if you want to learn how to art the way that we need you to learn how to art, then you'll do the right thing and you'll work this. This is now my 5th layer, but it takes time. So you put on some music, you get yourself in front of a fun window, you get your supplies where you need to be, and you create a beautiful neutral. The next one is a not quite white. It's shade number 5. We're going to go in with our white again, and this time I'm going to remember to remove my pencil. And there's a little extra pencil over here. I'm going to lighten that line up too, just for fun, because I know where it is. Sharpen my pencil. I was getting close to the wood again, and start with a good heavy layer of white. Because we're making a not quite white, which means we're going to be about 90% white color pencil application. And you might say, why do you do white on top of white paper? Because it's different. The white of the colored pencil is the waxy substance, whereas the white of the paper is different. So, I mean, you should even be able to tell. You can tell when you hold it sideways, there's a shine. So we're going to go in with the barest little tickle of red so we can make a not quite white. And then I'm going to notice I'm going to go the opposite direction with my little circles. So I applied the red this way, and I'm going to go up and down with long circle ovally things, and that's going to give me a not quite white in this zone, because it's literally like heating up the wax and smearing it with the white that's underneath it. And I'm moving that pigment around the way I want to, the artist, not the way the pencil wants to do it. And then oops, I did the neutral in the wrong space. I didn't do my shade. That's okay. I can do my shade, but I think I want to do the shade in red. So I messed up, but it's all right. You just continue. So I'm gonna start with red. I think last time when I did the shade, I started with black. So I might end up with 4 layers instead of 3, and it'll be all right. Red, I'm gonna go the opposite direction when I apply the black. One of my teachers used to say that color pencils were a directional medium, and that you really had to pay attention to the way you apply things, because it showed up later and whether or not it was gonna be smooth. So get a nice good layer of black on there, because I want it pretty dark. Not an almost black, but dark. And then going back in with red. Going back in, doing my little burnishing, small circles. And so before I went like horizontal and vertical, and now by using the small circle, I'm able to drag that pigment around and blend those 2 layers together and really work. I'm gonna have to get going back and forth this way. Every time I change and switch and go to a different direction, I cover more of those little white speckles that are left of the paper until I get a nice, smooth, even, 100% saturated application of red. Notice how it's so much different than just coloring it in. That's why coloring it in is not good enough in art class. You're applying color with thought and care and knowledge. Totally different than coloring something in. I need you to do 3 of them. And here's again, your analogous with the Smith Mountain Lake. You want all 3 of them done, 100% saturation, very good application, and correctly done using hues, tints, shades, neutrals, not quite whites, and almost blacks.